part of Parker 51 is not for the faint of heart. So if it's possible at all, I recommend just cleaning it by drawing water up into the sack like this. If, however, it is absolutely necessary and vital for you to disassemble it, this is how to do it. Uncap the pen and take off the barrel. Post the barrel carefully so that you will not lose it. Notice that there are a couple of parts here. The ink sac protector, the section, the nib and feed, and that little metal ring. Usually the section is shellacked into place, so make sure you warm this up a bit before you try to unscrew it. Just use a hairdryer or maybe some warm water, but not boiling. You can dip the whole pen into warm water because it's not hard rubber, so it will not discolor. A hairdryer is always a good safe option as you can really control the heat. Once you are ready to have a go, grab some grippy material, grab the section, and grab preferably those threads and not the actual ink sac protector. It's just a small bit for you to have purchase on, but at some point you should be able to just unscrew the section like this. Take off the section and put it apart, and notice the parts we have here: nib, feed, ink collector, sac protector, and the part of the section. The nib should pull out straightly like this. Be careful, as you can see that section is pretty thin and flimsy. You should be able to carefully grab the collector and pull out this bit. Breather tube, collector and feed. The breather tube can be pulled out straightly. Do not wriggle this around as it's delicate material and pretty thin. Then you have the collector and the feed. The feed should pull out straight from the collector. Again, this is not very thick, so be careful how you use this. Here we have the ink sac protector. In principle, it should be possible, although this may be hard the first time, to pull it off straight like this. Notice these little things. They're actually not threads to keep this in place. There are no threads on the inside of the sac protector. If you do not need to resack this, just leave it as it is. Do not pull the sack off. That will require you to shellac it back in place, and it's not necessary. This is now open, so if necessary, just pour water in there and you can clean it out very easily with a syringe, although of course be careful not to poke a hole into your rubber sack. Note the little metal ring there and the rubber O-ring. Be careful you do not lose those parts. Once you are ready, take a bit of pure talcum powder, so no perfume, dust it on there gently, then put the sac protector back in place. Now here comes the real trick, putting all this back together. Once this is clean and free of ink, put in the feed, put it into the collector. There's a big air replacement channel on there. It's maybe a little hard to see. Whoops. But there's a broad channel on there which is for air replacement, and then there is a narrower channel. You'll see that if you actually have one. The narrow channel should align with the top of the feed. There's a narrow channel on there too. Make sure they align as well as you can make it. I'll zoom out a bit for ease of reference. Then take your nib and put it on there. It should slide in fairly easily, and it should slide in all the way until it goes no further. You can use a bit of grippy material, but of course be careful you do not actually bend the nib. If it does not go any further, you've done a good job. Right now, I think the feed is in there a little bit too far, so I'm pulling this out. Align the nib and feed and put them back in there, taking care to align the channel on top of the feed with the channel on top of the ink collector. That should be pretty good. I like alignment better now. Carefully put the breather tube back in there. Do not hold it here, that increases the risk of the thing breaking. Hold it as low to the collector as you can. Now here's a really great trick from Steph of Grandmia pens, Penkino 1 on YouTube. Take your ink sac, your actual the ink sac and the protector, and just screw that section back in place. Note where the point is, the top of the point, because you want to align that with the nib. Put your thumb there so that the two correspond. The center of your thumb is the center of the section. Unscrew that section again. Take the collector, carefully slide it into the sac like this. Now the center of the nib and the center of your thumb should align. Take the section, screw it back in place until it goes no further, and be careful not to crack anything. This should be just about fine. Now the nib shouldn't stick out too far on this particular pen model, and this way everything aligns perfectly. Screw the barrel back in place and cap the pen. You've just survived servicing a classic pen. Have yourself some haggis. You've earned it.